Episode 158 of the TV Dudes podcast, recorded November 16th, 2017. Space Wars! So we got two space shows that are going head-to-head this week.
That's right.
We're finally coming back and talking about the Orville, as well as a show that I'm pretty familiar with because I've been talking about it week to week on my other podcast, Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's be honest, Gray. You have been like a big Star Trek expert your whole life. I mean, you got your first trouble when you were 7.
Yeah.
You learned to speak Vulcan and Klingon.
Whatever the difference is.
Whatever the difference is.
Yeah.
You are the biggest Star Trek Enterprise fan that I know. You're always singing the theme song and
Enterprise flying through space.
That's it. That's the one I hear.
Yeah. It's my favorite. It's such a good, catchy tune.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about... I don't know Star Trek. It's true. You're busting me here. We're going to be talking about Star Trek Discovery because it just hit its mid-season finale. The Orville, did it also? Was that its mid-season?
I think it might have 3 episodes left, and I don't know if they're going away for mid-season or if this is going to end their first season.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Yeah, I think it's going to be at 13 episodes. They're at like maybe 10 now.
Well,
I took great notes. I should pull them out.
We just watched episode 9, I believe, as of this podcast. So that's where we're at. And are we checking in on Walking Dead this week?
Kyle?
I'm all caught up. Did you guys not go to catch up?
Hell no. I haven't watched an episode of Walking Dead in like 3 seasons.
Well, maybe I'll do a little check-in for the listeners at home.
That's what I
know
think.
what I'm thinking.
We're curious because Randy and I have just not been.
No, I checked out. I'm done. Are there any space aliens or anything we can make it fit into the Space Wars theme?
We have like nuclear waste zombies now. That's kind of cool.
All right.
Are people at war for control of certain space and territory?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, for space. Are they looking for space?
You mean like the general formula of the show?
Yes. So
yeah. There's a little bit of that going on.
Space Wars. I'm just gonna have a picture of a storage unit for our art this week.
That's right. We should probably cover that. There's probably a show called Space Wars on like the Gardening Network or something.
Oh, damn it. All right, guys. We are the TV Dudes. I'm Grant.
I'm Randy.
Yeah, I'm Kyle.
And before we get into our show, we want to remind you guys that you can help us support us. Go to iTunes, give us a 5-star rating, write a little review. That helps us out. You can also go to patreon.com/TV Dudes, make a per episode pledge. This means grab your parents' credit card and give us $1 or $2 an episode. You know what? That's $4 to $8 a month.
Your parents won't even notice.
You guys are buying a Chipotle burrito 4 times a week, and we're saying just one of those, send them our way. And we will turn that into being able to pay for studio costs.
It'll be much easier on your stomach.
Yeah.
I don't want any Chipotle burritos. I'll just take the cash.
Just send us the cash, guys.
Yeah, don't pledge a Chipotle burrito that's very specific, and I don't really want a Chipotle burrito.
Oh no, we weren't asking for them to send us a Chipotle burrito.
Just I want to be clear. I just want a mailbox full of Chipotle burritos.
You kind of do,
but I mean, yeah,
who wouldn't love that?
Who wouldn't love that?
We are digressing. Patreon.com/TV Dudes. Thank you guys for all the support you guys have sent our way. We are also proud to be members of the Permanent Record Network.
Permanent Record.
And this is a TV podcast network. There's about 7 or 8 podcasts. I should actually take account of it. But we have a good number of all TV-related podcasts, and there's a brand new one in the mix.
A new sheriff in town.
There's a new sheriff in town. His name is Les Weiler. And he knows that only the good die young. And so he started a podcast called The Good Die Young, where he's talking about some short-lived shows, one-season wonders. It's sort of similar to Beach Cop Detectives Project.
Done by some jerk.
Done by some jerk. And Randy, you helped out on that podcast too.
Some jerk couldn't have done it without you.
So this season, he's talking about The Middleman, the ABC Family little one-season wonder that was run by Javier Grillo Marxwatch.
You got that. That was
Did I say
good.
that
Yeah.
right?
Javier Grillo March Watch.
It's easy to say.
Yeah. In the style of Beach Cops, he's doing episodes on Mondays and interviews on Thursday. His first interview with Javier dropped this week and was really, really good.
Oh, yeah?
And the first episode,
I should listen to it.
the first episode was Les and another familiar voice from the TV dudes.
That was me.
It was you.
I also did not listen to it because I'm on that one. So go give that a check. That's at thegooddieyoungtv.com. You can just search for it, and it's also on Stitcher, Google Play, and, of course, iTunes. Go rate it on whatever your favorite podcast app is. Send them some love. Share it with your friends, guys. And you know what? Let's go ahead and move on to some listener questions. Randy, I'm assuming you put up some listener questions.
I did.
This week or a post for it.
Oh, that's right. You're on hiatus.
I haven't been on Facebook.
You don't
in a
go
while.
on the Facebooks, on the Twitters, on the Mastodon. It's a new thing you might not even heard of.
Mastodon?
Mastodon. It's a new thing.
I've been on Mastodon for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, a lot of Mastodons there.
It's changed my life.
Okay, Snapchat, Instagram. You're not doing any of it.
Actually,
I mean, I'm on my phone.
Oh, okay.
I've posted a couple things on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
I've cheated some.
But yes, I put a Facebook post up every week. Ask for your questions. You throw them out there. We'll read them. We'll answer them.
Facebook.com/TV dudes. And wait, that's not the post. I thought I pulled up the post.
All right, you want me to hit it? I got it.
Oh, you have it?
I got it.
Lay it
All
on
right.
us.
So first, from Paul Mampilli. So, are there any TV characters, old or new, that time and society would seem offensive, and yet you can see it with fondness? The reason I'm asking is the new documentary about Apu from The Simpsons and how it is brownface. That may be the case, but he has a rich backstory, and for me, he was an identifiable Asian character that wasn't prevalent in my childhood. So I know that the Apu thing was interesting because it actually was like an Indian guy who basically said, yeah, it's offensive, but I also had kind of a fondness for it. And it sort of was dealing into that they had sort of broadened Apu beyond his stereotypes into more of a rich character as they went on. And I don't think he was forgiving all of that, but I think he was like putting it in its proper context.
Yeah. I mean, it's tricky, isn't it?
It is. And the first thing that jumps to mind is a show I didn't watch that often, which is Jack from Will and Grace. That guy was like, he was the Kramer of that show. He was the guy who was like the exciting and funny one, but he's such a gay stereotype that now I think it's got to be cringeworthy to look at it.
And that show's back.
Yeah.
And he's still playing the same guy.
I assume.
So, I mean, I don't know. I don't necessarily think... I don't know how to answer this necessarily. Like,
I have an easy one for this.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys are caught up on John Oliver, but he takes a little jab at Entourage this last week.
Oh, yeah.
And he points out where, especially in the lieu of like Harvey Weinstein and Louis C.K., nobody will ever be able to enjoy Entourage again. Even the people who did enjoy it back when it first came out, because it's just so misogynistic.
Yeah, I agree. I think we saw that through another lens when Ashley watched it recently. You and I had a fondness for it, and Ashley talking about it pretty much killed any remaining enthusiasm I had for it.
Well, the whole joke that John Oliver makes is the first line of the movie is they see a boat full of hot girls, and he goes, "I'm going to have to jerk it before we get to the boat."
That was the first line in the
first
Entourage
line
movie.
Out of the movie. Like, on paper, this is going to be an awful movie.
I'm so surprised. I had such high hopes for that film. What's our next question?
Okay, so next question comes from Kyle Volte. He says, Klingon boobs. Mm-hmm. Well, I think the Discovery is a good show. I just feel like they're trying too damn hard for little to no payoff. What? Are there any shows that, while you can appreciate the work that goes into them, you find yourself disliking them more and more with every passing episode? Yes, girls.
Wait.
That was my answer.
Kyle Volte is saying he doesn't like Discovery and the Klingon boobs was a problem?
Well, I think what he can, if I can paraphrase what I believe our friend Kyle Volte is saying, I think what he's saying is like the Klingon boobs and the F-bomb and the sort of grittiness that maybe they're trying a little too hard.
Could I ask this question in a different way?
Yes.
Which episode did you guys know she was a girl? Be honest.
Oh, no, I always do because she had a feminine voice.
Yeah.
A feminine Klingon voice.
Yeah.
You guys aren't shitting me right now.
You didn't know that was a girl?
I had to see the titties before I knew it was a girl.
Really?
I straight up thought the only reason they showed the titty scene where it was like, oh, definitely a girl.
No, because, I mean, in the the episode where Ash Tyler shows up and is rescued, he talks about the female commander of the Klingon ship.
And I thought we were still waiting to see her. Like, the whole time she was on the screen, I was like, oh, it's a masculine culture. That dude's going to get his ass kicked around these guys.
Yeah, that's Laurel.
She's been around since like the first episode.
Yeah, she was a captain, or she was like the leader of her own Klingon sect.
I don't get the nuances of Klingon culture.
You don't see gender when it comes to Klingons.
Maybe that's it. I'm so non-Klingonist.
Yeah, you're not. You're so open to the Klingons. You are the man we need to work a peace treaty with the Klingons.
Boom.
Because you see them.
Words.
You see them as they are, not as we wish to see them.
Well, I'll never see them the same way after this sex scene.
Here's one for you. The Americans.
Yeah?
I find it just seems like more work for me to want to watch that show than it's like worth it. I don't know. Like, I know it's a great show.
Yeah.
But it's just not my kind of show.
Okay.
It turns out. And I keep like trying. It just seems like homework for me to watch that one.
I've got that with Mr. Robot right now.
Yeah.
It just seems like work.
What was that FX show about the guy who was like a sultan back home?
Tyrant.
Tyrant.
Yeah.
Tyrant was that way. I was really on board with the idea and kind of getting into it, and then just every episode just can't do it.
Yeah.
Alejandro Reyes Zapata says, did any of the dudes finish Inhumans?
No.
It was pretty bad and would have liked Agent Carter Season 3 instead. Is there a spin-off series that you would cancel for something different in the same universe?
A spin-off series that we would cancel.
Yeah.
Like Inhumans.
What spin-offs are there? I mean, I'm trying to think of spin-off series lately.
Cloak and Dagger is coming out. And I just cancel that because I'm sure it's going to be disappointing. And wait until Marvel or Disney/Marvel starts getting control to make their own original programming.
But what spinoff would you launch in its place?
Cloak and Dagger. Like they can have pretty much whatever as long as they're doing it.
Oh, I would cancel Young Sheldon to replace with an hour of dead air. Kyle, you got an answer on that one?
No, I can't think of any spinoffs.
Jonathan Habmichael says, "Hey dudes, I am bombarded with ads for Hulu's new original series, Future Man, and I think it looks like something made for YouTube, for free, not red. Hulu's original content selection and subscription prices are big factors why I don't have it. Paying $12 a month to watch The Handmaid's Tale without commercials is unappealing to me. Which streaming service, excluding Netflix and Amazon, do you dudes think has the most appealing library of original content?" By the way, we are going to weigh in on Future Man in like a week, I think.
Mm-hmm. Streaming service excluding Netflix and Amazon. Can HBO go on there?
I mean, HBO is the obvious one, right? I mean, HBO is a fantastic value.
Yeah. And I think close behind HBO is Showtime, especially if you're not caught up on all the stuff. Like, it's really easy to forget, like, with HBO and Showtime, like, how much stuff you can go back and rewatch on there. You can go back and rewatch all The Sopranos, all Sex and the City, Entourage if you want.
Watch an episode of Sex and the City, then watch an episode of Entourage.
Mm-hmm. And then follow it up with a nice tasty glass of girls.
Exactly.
Maybe not a tasty glass.
You have a whole evening.
Yeah.
Of conflicting feelings.
Was Hulu on his list? Because they're probably in the lead spot for me as far as original content and the stuff they release.
Everybody hates on Hulu, but I really like Casual. I really liked Handmaid's Tale. I really like Chance.
I really like Difficult People.
I didn't like that one.
I think Runaways is going to be good.
I think Runaways is going to be good too. Yeah. And honestly, the amount we get from Hulu as far as like network stuff, if you're not getting cable, if that's where you're getting your content from streaming, there's some really good stuff on Hulu. I watch Hulu more often than I would think. And the $3 extra or $4 extra a month for commercial free, after you've watched your 100th version of the Johnsonville sausage ad, those $4 start to seem real and important to you.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of people in my circle forget PBS. Like, it's free to sign up, and especially all that Masterpiece content. Whenever Sherlock's on, you usually get like their best stuff for free, and I think it's like the hidden deal out there.
Leo Silver says, "Have you guys seen The Girlfriend Experience Season 2 yet?" I haven't seen any of The Girlfriend Experience.
No.
Yeah, didn't know anything.
What is this?
I think it's a Soderbergh project. I could be wrong about that.
Oh, wait a second.
Yeah.
It was one of my 4-second ads while I was watching Future Man.
Okay.
Every episode was like, brought to you by The Girlfriend Experience.
We have not, but maybe we'll put it on the docket.
Yeah.
Well, Leo hasn't told us whether or not we should.
Well, but if he asked the question.
Yeah, it could be like, have you guys seen Young Sheldon yet?
But then in that case, he still wants us to talk about it. Maybe he wants to punish us. But he still wants us to talk about it.
I think our listeners love us. They haven't wrote anything like, what do you think of Young Sheldon? Like, that guy just hates us.
All right.
Where's your Real Rob podcast?
The good die young, the ugly live forever. That's what give you the companion podcast. You can talk about shows like you can do a whole thing on CSI.
The ugly never die.
The ugly never die.
Oh my god, just torture. Have you guys heard about that podcast where those guys watch Grown Ups 2?
Yes,
over and over, and each week they discuss the exact same movie for an hour, and they just keep rewatching it. That's an exercise in madness.
All right, our buddy Nick Ties. Nick Ties? I don't know.
He even told us once. I don't remember.
All right.
It's Thice.
Nick Thice.
I'm sure it's ties, and I always say thighs, like sexy thighs.
Our buddy Nick says, "Hey, dudes. I cannot get over how much Negan moves his shoulders when he talks. It's like someone is holding early Clooney's head in place, and the rest of his body is trying to compensate."
That's hilarious.
It paints a picture. Do any other TV characters have a physical tick that bugs you?
Oh, perfect answer.
Yeah?
Thunderbirds. Or like Team America. They do the Negan lean because they're puppets.
A particular tick that bugs me.
I'm trying to think of one. Nothing jumps out at me.
I'm sure, like, when I'm watching a show, I'm thinking, like, that asshole.
Yeah.
But it's not something that lingers with me where I'm, like, all the rest of the week going, that asshole. Their tick is too much for me.
All right. And then finally, Jonathan Huffnagel has a question for us.
All right.
Almighty TV dudes. You partake of the sugar water of memory when suddenly it bursts through the wall, red and invincible, its face grinning behind a massive fishbowl. No, it is not Mysterio. To hell with property damage. It's the Kool-Aid Man.
Oh, yeah.
A sudden dance party breaks out, and no one questions what just happened. I think Jonathan Huffnagel took some drugs this week. I was reminded of this blunt randomness while playing through the recent South Park game. Who else might suddenly burst through walls into moments from other TV shows? Perhaps the Planet Express crew blasts through the wall onto the bridge of the Enterprise. Perhaps the Doctor and companions crash through into the musical episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It is as if the punch were spiked, resulting in sudden uncomfortable dance fever. What character do you think should pull a reverse party crash? Oh, yeah!
A reverse party crash.
Ooh, I think I know one that would be pretty easy.
Yeah?
Which is you could do... The cast of the Orville could do one of those alternate dimension, like Earth that is less advanced than they are, and they could bust in on any Fox show, like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, or Last Man on Earth.
Oh yeah, I like it.
That would be really fun.
The show isn't on the air right now, but I want to see like either the cast of Always Sunny or the cast of You're the Worst on just crashing to West Wing. The worst people in the world with some of the best people. That's what I want to see.
I want Ehrlich Bachman to be throwing a party, although he's no longer part of that show.
Nope.
But he's throwing some extravagant party, and it ends up that the party down people are actually running it. That'd be hilarious.
That's fantastic.
Because what's his name? Guilfoyle would have a dual role.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
I used to work with these guys.
Don't ask me about it.
So news. Let's start with the big one. A Lord of the Rings prequel TV series is coming to Amazon.
Why?
A multi-season commitment, potential spin-off series, storylines preceding Lord of the Rings.
Like, what precedes? A Silmarillion?
I guess it's got to be the Silmarillion, that kind of thing.
I don't actually know when that happens.
I don't know. It's a bunch of elf shit.
Man. Lord of the Rings people, they don't have anything to spend their money on right now.
I saw someone, I believe it was the dude who played Gimli, John Rhys
Davies.
Yep. Say that J.R.R. is spitting in his grave.
Oh, really?
Because of this. And I was curious, like, I don't know necessarily how that guy would feel about his work just being turned into some big commercial franchise.
Do you know what J.R.R. Tolkien would say right now if he were alive?
Ka-ching!
No, he'd say, help me get me out of this coffin.
Oh.
And then he'd spit in his grave.
Okay.
But I guess that one of his kids or grandkids or something who was involved, Christopher Tolkien, maybe?
Yeah, just gave up the rights.
Just sort of gave up the rights, and it sounds like maybe he was pressured out, and that he was the one trying to protect the legacy, and all the other kids were like, hey, let's get some of that money. Let's get some of that elf money.
Give us some of that Game of Thrones.
Our kids
money.
don't have to pay estate tax if we don't have any estates left.
So yeah, I what's funny is I haven't seen anybody excited about this. I've mostly seen cynicism about it.
I mean, I'm kind of I'm interested to see what they do. It's Amazon, right?
Yeah, it's Amazon.
So it's like a mixed bag. I don't necessarily feel confident that they know how to pull off big scale drama like is required for this.
What if it's going to be pretty and boring like Man in the High Castle?
Yeah, right.
I say whatever you do, throw as much money as possible towards it, because either one, you put so much money into it, it has to be good, or two, the more likely thing, it's like a ton of money and it's a huge flop and it's a great story for our podcast.
There we go. Think of us, the TV.
Think of the podcasters. Yes. George Clooney may be returning to TV. To lead and direct a new Catch-22 series, which is based on
the book.
Yeah, the book.
This is twice
Joseph
we've
Heller.
referenced George Clooney.
Yeah.
What is going on with this guy? Now I can't help the head bobble.
So Catch-22, for those who don't know, is set during World War II. It's about an Air Force bombardier trying to get home, and
somehow he's damned if he do and damned if he don't.
That is correct. Do you know what it is?
He's in a Catch-22, guys.
Because airmen who felt mentally unfit to fly were not obligated to do so, but anyone who applied to stop flying was sane enough to fly, creating the Catch-22. Anyway, it was a film in 1970, and it's going to be George Clooney. It's not attached anywhere. It's like no network has it, but George Clooney.
Is he going to be acting or is he just going to be producing?
It says lead and direct.
Okay.
It's written by the guy who wrote the movie Lion.
Oh.
And the guy who wrote the movie War Machine.
All right.
Oh, have you guys seen War Machine yet
Nope.
on Netflix?
Nope.
It's real funny. Well, it's real serious, but it's got just it's a great movie.
So it's going to be 6 episodes. It's going to be a miniseries, and he will take the role of Colonel Cathcart. Here's the interesting thing. They talk in this article about how he hasn't returned to TV since Facts of Life and Roseanne.
ER?
That's not true.
The hospital show.
Well, they mention ER.
Oh, sorry.
ER, Roseanne, Facts of Life. But they don't mention is, remember that the Cold War thing, Safe or something like there was a live it was like a live drama about nuclear bombers, and like
no,
he was in that. I think he produced it, but that was on TV, and it was like this. It was a miniseries. So anyway, him returning to a miniseries is notable, but not like that groundbreaking. He did do it a few years back.
Dang.
So
look at you calling him out.
I know things.
You're like a human IMDb.
Take that, Screen Rant, or wherever that was that I read that article from. Okay, this is bittersweet news for me. You're the Worst season 5 will be its last. So it got a season 5 renewal.
Is
but
that
will
this
be the last
current
season.
one? No, it's on 4?
Yep, it's on 4.
You get a whole nother season of that?
Honestly, I thought this was going to die at season 2 or 3. Like it's been struggling.
Why is that bittersweet to you? Isn't that like super sweet? Like it has an end to it in sight?
Yeah, it is. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, I kind of want to keep going because they're still good.
Forever?
No, not forever. But I didn't feel like they were losing a step.
I feel like 5 seasons is pretty fucking good.
It is good.
More
Actually,
than other people get.
I'm super happy about it. I'm glad to see them going off on their own terms, and I'm happy to get one more season left. And yeah, I'm really digging it.
So I don't watch very much of that show, but what I have caught, they like to end their seasons on like one of the characters doing something horrible.
Yeah, and I haven't watched this season's finale yet, so I don't know.
Because I'm wondering, do you think that they'll end the show that way, where it just ends with no resolve? They just both do something very horrible to each other.
Murder. Double homicide.
No, I don't think so, but I wouldn't rule it out. Yeah. All right. Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Well, we all like Game of Thrones.
It's a pretty, really ridiculously good show.
What do you think about the idea of watching every episode ever over the course of 4 days?
Didn't you start trying to do a rewatch?
I started trying to do a rewatch of 2 episodes every other week, and that was too ambitious.
I mean, if I were to set aside the time, maybe.
You'd do it?
I feel like the only way I could do that is if I had performance-enhancing mod pizza at my disposal.
Yeah. I don't see the value necessarily because, I feel like the story's pretty rich in my mind.
So HBO, to celebrate the release of the DVD and the Blu-ray release of Season 7 and a box set of Seasons 1 through 7, which is weird because there's one more season coming.
I know. Talk about the cash grab. That's some greedy shit right there.
They're going to... The Prince Charles Cinema in London will hold a full marathon session of every Game of Thrones episode ever. It's all free, spread over the course of 4 days, 27th to 30th November, and it will include refreshment breaks provided by Mod Pizza. And if you endure the entire event, you'll be entered in a prize draw. Apparently, the ticket allocation is already full, but they'll be handing out tickets on the door each day of the marathon.
They better give you a fucking Iron Throne.
That's what you got to sit on to watch it.
Yeah.
I'd love to just nap in that theater, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like you sleep for 8 hours, wake up, watch more Game of Thrones.
Have you guys ever done like a film marathon?
No, never.
Like Button-umathon?
Yeah.
No.
I did. I mean, it's not a big marathon, but I watched all 3 of the Batman, Christopher Nolan Batman in a row in the theater.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. That was like the debut of The Dark Knight Rises. So it ended on a little bit of a bummer. But the first 2, I didn't realize how good Batman Begins is. Oh, it's a really great movie.
I go back to that one a lot.
So I hate to end our news segment on a downer here, guys, but NBC is shutting down the beloved horror channel known as Chiller. And the only thing more shocking to me than that news is that Chiller has been on the air for 10 fucking years.
What?
Yes. Yes.
I've never heard of Chiller.
I have never heard of Chiller. It has been on the air 10 years on DirecTV. They've been showing Twin Peaks, Alfred Hitchcock, Tales from the Crypt. 10 years.
You know how I've heard of Chiller? I've heard of them on the design blogs because they changed their logo like 3 times in that 10 years. So I've seen like every time they rebrand, but I'm like, what is that TV channel?
Yeah, where is Chiller?
What other channels are out there that we don't know about?
We know that there was one called Clue, CLOO, that would play all mystery shows. I think House was on there too. And I want to say that one got nixed this year as well.
So all those shows all those little niche channels are getting canceled?
Chiller and Clue?
Yes.
Oh, these are so corny.
They sound like board games.
It may be that DirecTV's business model is changing.
So Randy and I have a beef with this show, The Walking Dead. It's been running now it's on its 8th season, but I dropped out right at the premiere of season 7, and Randy dropped out like early in season 6.
Yeah. I don't have a beef. I just couldn't care less whether the show was on air.
Yeah, I mean, you don't like the show, right?
Yeah.
Is it beef?
I guess. If it stopped existing tomorrow, I wouldn't care.
I find it highly emotionally manipulative, like misery porn going on.
You're correct,
there.
sir.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit much for me.
I still have lots of friends who love it, though.
But a lot of people are watching it, including Kyle here. So since we've neglected this so long, we thought Kyle would let you tell us what's actually happening right now.
Are there still dead walking around?
There are still dead walking around.
Okay.
So you're absolutely correct. The beginning of season 7, misery porn at its height. This was a big turning point in the comics. So, when you hear Robert Kirkman talk about why he would put this in a comic and then on TV, it's like we needed something really big to happen. And the rest of season 7, it was just them under the thumb of Negan. Like every time they try to like get out from being his slave, something even more horrific and awful happens. And they even take that scene and they make it, even worse than it was in the comics. Real quick.
It was brutal.
Spoilers for everything up till season 8, and I think we're 4 episodes in now. We just finished the Ezekiel episode.
Okay.
Which this getting back to season 7.
Ezekiel's the dude with the tiger, right?
Ezekiel's the dude with the tiger.
And the dreads, and he's an actor pretending to be a
Shakespeare.
Okay. Yeah.
So season 7 ends with they get kind of their first win against Negan's group. And it's not even really a win. They get fucked up pretty bad. But coming into season 8, now you finally see like the group that we remember, the one that like has a plan and doesn't go in irrational and tries to figure stuff out. And for these first 4 episodes, they've got a bunch of wins under their belt.
Hold up.
Whoa.
I don't think I remember ever a Rick Grimes clan that had a plan and executed it well.
No, remember
shows based on he like acts like he does and then fucks up something.
Remember the start of maybe it was even season 2 or 3 where they were clearing houses with silencers, and I was like, oh, they got silencers because zombies can hear them. These guys are smart. There was a brief moment. I'm like, these guys they got their shit together. There was a time when they had a plan.
I don't remember.
Man, they had a council running the prison. Anyways, but no, I do definitely feel like they're getting back to we don't see somebody get tortured every episode, and then we get to this episode 3, and there's kind of a big shift, and Negan's group gets a big lick in, which brings us to this 4th episode in season 8, which is all about Ezekiel. At the start of it, he's lost a lot of his people, and he's kind of in this situation where they're all about to become walkers. Mm-hmm. That's something else that I like is they've done their 28 days later thing where all humans are the main threat. Mm-hmm. We're now finally getting back into this cool game where they're using the walkers to attack each other again. Like they're having these big shootouts, and the goal isn't to outgun them because they can't outgun them. So it's like just shoot at them long enough to where their dead start to attack them, and then they're trapped. So then they'll kill each other. That type of mentality. So back to this episode with Ezekiel. They start with kind of, his whole Shakespeare thing, like, this is my act. And they take him into a situation where he gets a lot of his people killed. Mm-hmm. And spoiler, they do it a little earlier in the comics, but this is also the episode where he loses the tiger. Oh. Like, the tiger comes in at the last minute to say, it's a pretty cool scene,
Zombie
too.
tiger?
I don't know, because you see it. They rip the tiger apart.
No, only people become zombies in Walking Dead.
Yeah, we haven't seen any other zombie animals.
There are no zombie horses, no zombie tigers,
zombie dragon,
no zombie dragons, no zombie elephants.
Wrong show.
No zombie giraffes, no zombie news, no zombie bison.
You know a lot of animals.
I know a lot of animals.
But Ezekiel has a line towards the end of the episode where he's been they've kind of saved him from this ordeal. And he just looks at the guy because he's just seen so much death. And he just goes, like, no acting, nothing. I'm just a dude. I'm just a dude. Like, it's my favorite line from the episode. But essentially, like, he's like, cut the shit. Like, I'm not the king. I don't even have a tiger anymore. Like, I'm just a dude. And then it ends kind of the beginning of the episode is him like cheering up his people, like, we're going to go into battle and we're going to fight in Shakespeare and shit. And at the end, he comes home without anybody, and it's all their wives and their kids. Like, where's my dad? Where's my sister?
This sounds super uplifting.
Yeah.
But it feels like this show.
But in the same episode, Rick and Daryl also have a really cool car chase scene where they outgun these guys and then
Daryl's
get
still
some
alive?
like cool guy. Oh yeah, Daryl's kicking ass. Rick's kicking ass.
Daryl looked like he was on the outs when I left.
Yeah.
Daryl, yeah, he gets thrown into a torture situation in season 7. Pretty hardcore.
It was not pleasant to watch.
Carl's got an eye patch. Did you guys get to that part?
Yeah, I heard about that. So did they? I know in the comics they had like this total war where there are like 4 different factions. Is that going on now? They're like,
I think that's where we're at right now.
okay.
So it's Negan's group, and then these 3 groups, including Rick. They're calling her the widow, but what's her face?
Carol?
Not Carol. Glenn's wife. Why am I?
Oh,
blanking?
Maggie.
Maggie's group, and then Ezekiel's group.
So Maggie split off from Rick's group.
Well, what happened is she's been pregnant, so she went to the hilltop with Jesus to get medical treatment, and the guy running the hilltop was just a total dick, so she was like the only one to take over.
I know that there's probably a character named Jesus, but in my head, they got real religious and weird.
Okay, the Jesus character looks just like Jesus and kind of acts like him. I mean, he can like kung fu fight and stuff, so I don't think Jesus could do that.
Wait, are you saying Jesus couldn't kung fu fight? Because I need to go into my Bible.
That's blasphemy.
He could walk on water, but could he walk on dead ass? No, Walking Dead, I don't think there's anything happening now that's going to bring you guys back.
Nope.
I think the people who've stuck around long enough, we're going to stick around to the end. And it feels like it's getting there.
Is there a movement toward redemption, toward something that feels like rebuilding of society or solving the zombie crisis, like anything?
Nobody ever works in the zombie crisis. It's just it gets kicked out of the next administration.
Yeah.
There's nobody wants to pay the taxes to fix the zombie crisis.
I think the challenge the show has is they're trying to do that. I've seen in some of these earlier episodes where Rick is now talking about how we have to be better than them by showing compassion, but we then have all these other stories we have to wrap up. So they're not going to have that cathartic thing you're talking about and still get like, we're going to find out what happens to this guy and that guy. It's going to be a lot of shooting and a lot of zombies, and I think kind of a sprint to the finish.
A lot of death, a lot of misery, and misery porn.
And kung fu fighting Jesus.
Okay.
And tigers.
Well, let's jump from the really primal Earth to space. And future technology. Okay, so we have the Orville and we have Star Trek Discovery, and part of the question is, inevitably, which is better?
Discovery.
But also, let's just discuss these, because we haven't checked in on the Orville in a while. And the Orville, I believe when we left off, we had just watched the pilot, and it seemed kind of like a little silly Seth MacFarlane take on Star Trek, and we weren't really sure how seriously to take it.
But it had a sincerity to it. Like, it definitely, it has a goofy element, but I think that the issue was some people were like, it's not funny, but it is like more heartfelt than I was sort of on board this at first, and I kind of went off it a little bit, but I was definitely a defender.
So Kyle was kind enough to give us a cheat list of these are the must-see episodes. Randy, you watched all of it.
Because I'm not a cheater.
But I cheated, and I did like 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9 or something like that.
Well, and what's nice about the show is that they do, definitely during the middle of the series, they have a lot of just great standalone episodes, which are really easy to watch out of continuity. And it's not till this most recent one where they really bring in their first, kind of continuity story element to the show.
Yeah.
I thought this show does a pretty good job of addressing some fascinating social issues through the lens of alien worlds, like the one with the gender surgery.
Yeah,
with the all male
girl.
Yeah, all male society.
The way the ending of that one was shocking to me, because they
set it up where you think, oh no, his husband's gonna be like, I decided to side with you, and we'll let her be what she is. But
and instead, they kind of did the fucked up thing. I mean,
they just went for it, and I'm like, oh wow, that's bold and unexpected.
Yeah,
and I get where they're coming from with that as well. So like, I thought it was a really good conversation that they had. They showed both sides. They gave it a lot of thought and weight, and then they settled on an area for the plot.
Yeah,
and we even see the ramifications in his relationship going forward based on it, and it's all pretty interesting.
Well, I think you hit on the thing that makes the Orville more Star Trek than Discovery in some ways, which is that it's addressing modern social issues through a futuristic lens. And that's what Star Trek has always been about. Not that Discovery doesn't do that either. Discovery has plenty to say about MAGA culture, if nothing else. Let's make Klingon great again. There's definitely some social stuff going on in Discovery. But this is almost that, I don't want to say clumsy, but more on the nose. Like every episode is here is a social issue that we're going to tackle and give you our look at it. And I think that is more in line with what, say, Next Generation did.
Yeah, it definitely feels a lot like, and this just keeps getting thrown around, like Next Generation fanfic.
Yeah.
Like somebody really enjoyed that show and how do we keep it going?
Yeah.
But where so many times you see somebody try to do this and it looks like an SNL sketch, the sincerity that's brought to it, it's really surprising, if nothing else.
The costumes are amazing, too. The aliens look so good.
That's one thing I was going to say is how much do you think this is down to the production design, which is pretty spectacular?
Well, you guys caught what I put in the notes that Jon Favreau directed episode 1, the same guy, Iron Man, that shitty Cowboys movie, with aliens and cowboys.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they also, Jonathan Frakes directed one of the episodes.
Ah.
And he's going to direct one of the Star Trek Discovery episodes in the back half.
And Brandon Braga, who's one of the Star Trek guys, directed one of the episodes too. So like they've got some names, like all the names who are directing. They've got some good directors on this too. Like the show looks good; it's well put together. I honestly think the weakest link is Seth MacFarlane.
Interesting.
There's something. I mean, he's okay, but he's
okay.
He never feels fully like the lead that I want to root for. In fact, he seems to have this weird waxy Botox face and these like dead alien eyes that like creep me out with his super high gloss white teeth. He feels fake.
He feels like he's not part of it.
I feel like that's kind of part of the character, like this hyper metrosexual. Like they've made jokes about him, tweezing his eyebrows and like the things that he does that he thinks women find attractive. And because I totally get there's something weird about his character, and then when you get to episode 9 and you have the Derulian character, and Seth MacFarlane just becomes straight up homosexual for that episode, there was something kind of interesting where I was like, oh, he's not trying to be the cool guy. Like he's willing to do whatever it calls for. Like he'll jump into it head first. So I think, the question is then, so what do you give him to do? And you're right. I don't think like we've had anything cool for him to do yet.
Well, I don't know. I think part of the problem is Seth MacFarlane he's surrounded with better actors
and at least better characters, definitely.
And I think that he's not. MacFarlane is a funny, creative guy. He's a little lowbrow sometimes. But he's not who I think of as an actor. He's put himself in roles, but it's kind of like Alfred Hitchcock, who always put himself in roles. It's like he doesn't really belong in the actor ranks. He shouldn't be the lead.
I mean, he doesn't necessarily bug me that much, but it is something kind of in the back of my mind. I'm like, him?
I just remember that Yahoo space show. Was it Inner Space, Outer Space?
About Other Space.
Other Space.
Yeah.
They had the similar thing where the captain of the ship was just it was always a joke about how he was just power hungry, but nobody really took him that seriously. Like, even though he was captain, he didn't have power. And where I don't think they're really doing that with it, I do think that it's very easy to undermine him.
Yeah.
And most of the time, it's more about, like, how it makes him feel to be in charge, to finally have a ship.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if you replace Seth MacFarlane on the show, same character, with, say, and this is unfair to him, but Timothy Olyphant or Matthew Perry or any of these guys who can do the same sort of smarmy comedy thing, but actually have a little bit of acting chops, I think it's a better show.
Not Timothy Olyphant.
Actually, I don't know.
You don't think so?
I kind of thought that was a cool idea.
I just think that would so shift the tone.
Yeah.
This is a Seth MacFarlane vehicle for better or worse, and I'm on board it.
I think that's the thing for me is I need like 10% less MacFarlane. MacFarlane not being starring in it would just tilt the whole thing for me.
Well, and I got to say, the show works really well, and not to his detriment, but when he's just kind of the supporting guy, like the maestro in the background, and the story's kind of happening around him.
I agree. Actually, the episode that was Isaac and the doctor and her sons, when Ed, his character, is not in it for the most part, that's a great episode. That's actually one of my favorites.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting with
And
how
I never saw that one.
Any of the times that Kelly Grayson, which is Adrian Palicki's character, is sort of the lead and Ed is sort of off screen, the show's better for me. I feel like, and I don't dislike Seth MacFarlane. I know a lot of people dislike him. I just feel like he shouldn't be the lead. And every time he's sort of in my face, I'm reminded that he's the guy who basically made the Star Trek fanfic and then put himself opposite a beautiful woman as his ex-wife.
Yeah. Well, I got to say this. If Fox can make me forget I'm looking at Damon Wayans in a Beach Cops detective style TV show, maybe they can blind you to the Seth MacFarlane.
Well, I mean, the quality of the actress here is pretty good. The guest actors they get are crazy. They had, I mean, was she an Oscar winner or just an Oscar nominee?
Charlize Theron for Monster.
She's an Oscar winner, right?
Did she win?
I don't know.
At the very least, an Oscar nominee to come and play this sort of one-shot character, and she was great in it.
They have Jeffrey Tambor, Rob Lowe.
I forgot that was Rob Lowe until recently. I didn't realize that was him, but that makes a lot of sense.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, because before we get talking about Star Trek Discovery, I definitely love to talk about the Episode 9 big reveal at the end of the episode.
Rob Lowe's blue alien character.
Yeah.
Is the one who basically was the love interest that separated Seth MacFarlane and Adrian Palicki's characters, right?
Yeah.
And because she sleeps with him, they get a divorce, whatever, everything moving on from there. And he returns.
It happens in the first 5 seconds of the series.
Yeah, he returns 1 year later, and it turns out that there's this other element to this guy that he secretes pheromones once a year during mating season that makes him irresistible, and it seems a little bit roofy-ish.
Yeah, it really did.
And they don't really address how creepy he is, that he kind of preys on people.
And especially the thing he did to the doctor, that he basically put her in a position to have sex with someone she's been pushing away for months. It was basically he took away her consent and made her consent. It's messed up.
I mean, inadvertently.
Yeah, but he's not apologetic about it all. He's like, it's a thing that happens. Sorry, I should have mentioned it. It is messed up.
Well, what's so messed up is you got to imagine being a writer on this show, getting to this episode at now being like, oh man, it'd probably be a good time to pull this, except the point of this kind of pulls the whole story together.
Yeah.
Because this is the reveal where we realize, she may not have cheated on him.
Yeah, that she was actually under the influence.
Yeah.
I was so hoping at the end he would say, no, I definitely wasn't last year. Just so it removes that doubt.
Yeah.
And gives her an out.
Well, he even said it in a way as in, I would only say yes. I'm not going to be a dick.
He was maybe.
I see how obviously, this could affect your situation. So, yeah.
Right.
Wait, he did say maybe, didn't he?
He said maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he left it open-ended.
So, you didn't watch the Majority Rule episode, right, Grant, or did you? The one with the Meow Meow Beans,
the Black Mirror type one?
Meow Meow Beans. I saw the Black Mirror episode.
You remember the Community Meow Meow Beans episode, remember?
Oh, vaguely, yeah.
That was also sort of about social media taking over a place. Did you watch that episode?
Yeah.
I liked that episode, and I think part of it is it gave the pilot or the navigator character, who we haven't gotten a lot about, just as sort of except as sort of a narrator type, to give him a bit more character. I liked seeing him have a story arc.
Yeah, I find that episode, and with Rob Lowe, I was thinking about how this kind of contrasts with Star Trek Discovery, and it seems like they have a lot of plot contrivances that just allow them to kind of tell whatever narrative they want, rather than these real fleshed out people or real fleshed out worlds.
Yeah.
I think of that world and the system, how that operates, and it's just a majority rule rather than overseeing powers, kind of making things work. I'm like, that doesn't function. There's no way that actually functions, but except as a fun plot device for them to kind of be thrust into that scenario, right? Yeah. And similarly, I was thinking about Rob Lowe, and if this is an alien species that does that would certainly need to be something that all other aliens that come in contact with them would need to be aware of, that would need to be noted, told out throughout
but get
the
this,
Union.
If everybody who is affected by his thing leaves it with a positive experience, like, man, I really miss that guy, they probably wouldn't be running around going, oh, I got raped, or I didn't want to do this.
But it wears off.
Yeah.
It wears off,
but
and
remember,
that
her
would have had
memory
to be discovered if he's like a fully operating member of the Union, but it's not addressed.
Well, every time that he brings up, oh, you slept with the blue guy, she's like, I don't know what got into me. I had a thing for him back then. Like, she remembered it as a positive experience, even though she wasn't still like, I gotta have him.
But I just feel like everyone charting each other's alien differences, they do a great job kind of addressing that with the all male species got alien race, and like how like this is our culture. You guys should be aware of like how we are like this, and these are our boundaries and rules and expectations for how our kids are raised, whatever. And yet, Rob Lowe's blue alien character is still operating within the Union as well. Once again, this is nitpicky, but it just seems like such an easy plot contrivance for them to be like, oh, once a year he does this, but no one has documentation that this happens.
That's a good point.
I think that's sort of the nature of the Orville, which is also the nature of Next Generation, is that it wasn't heavy on continuity. The Orville is definitely a show that, I mean, it exists in the modern TV universe. So there's a little more continuity than there was in Next Generation, but at the same time, it is very much an episode to episode story, and I think that's a strength of it. It's also a weakness.
It's lighthearted. It really does a great job of showing the cast of characters and kind of growing as a family together on the ship.
Yeah.
There's this scene in like the second or third episode, or I don't actually know, maybe it was the fifth, where they're all sitting around a table in the mess hall or the cafeteria, and they realize that I can't remember his name. The guy who laid an egg, who had the kid. Bortus. That he can eat anything. And so they all just start giving him a bunch of food in the cold open to like eat. And, and it's such a fun scene that's like a bonding moment for all the cast, and like you get to feel for all of them.
Yeah.
That I'm like, that's something that I notice is somewhat lacking in our other show we're about to talk about, Star Trek Discovery.
So this leads me to a question, though, which is, I think, interesting. The tone of the Orville, which I think is what put a lot of people off. Do you guys find the show funny in general? Because I don't.
I mean, I think it's lighthearted funny. It's not like slap my knee funny.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a comedy. I would almost call it like so when I watch Game of Thrones with people, it's always nobody say a word, everybody shut up, you know, like we want to pay attention, and then afterwards you talk about it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's how I watch Star Trek Discovery. But the way that I watch the Orville, it's like, no, mom and dad can sit down too, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe you got a sister or a brother who they don't get into TV like you do. Like everybody's going to sit around and be entertained by this for 30 minutes.
Family fun.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's like a family program almost.
But it's a family program, but it's full of dirty jokes. Like it's got McFarlane's sort of adolescent.
Pixar movies got dirty jokes in them now. I mean,
it's like McFarlane's sort of adolescent sense of humor, I think, comes through. I think that's my problem, is that I like the idea of this futuristic society, like they've gotten past money and all this kind of stuff, but yet they've advanced in so many ways, but they still do karaoke, and they still do practical jokes. They still have no, I don't have a problem. I find it interesting, but the world doesn't necessarily hold together as well, because I'm like, it feels like a 21st century idea of a 25th century or whatever like that. It feels in the same way dated that Next Generation felt like the 80s version of, or the 90s version of the future, and Star Trek, the original, felt like the 60s version of the future.
That's a really good point.
There's a party scene in Star Trek Discovery in one of the really fun episodes, and I complained about like, this is what parties are even 300 years from now.
That was the best party that's been seen in any Star Trek ever, though.
That's what I heard.
I forgot. They did have a really fun episode this season too, where it was like, okay, well maybe we should beam
jump over
there.
Yeah,
actually, we got to take a shuttle if we're heading from the Orville. We don't have transporter technology.
That's right. There's no
Fox.
transporters.
Yeah,
they're probably better off with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about Star Trek Discovery, guys. I've talked a bunch about this. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
So I love Star Trek Discovery. It is my favorite show on TV, except for The Good Place, which is a very different kind of show. Like nothing else has come close for me right now. It's like, and I liked it from the outset, but I felt like every episode I fell more and more in love with it. And there's only like 1 or 2 episodes where I was like, that wasn't as good. But in general, like that was my Sunday night. I was excited to watch it. I was looking forward to it. And I think they have really sort of nailed what I wanted out of a Star Trek show, even though it is very much in some ways not a Star Trek show.
Well, and I love how I love hearing you say that they nailed what you wanted out of a Star Trek show, because I totally get that.
Yeah.
But I also recognize like they did something really new and different with Star Trek from the beginning of the series. And I feel like one of the greatest strengths, one of the things, by the way, I love it too. I know I've been hyping up the Orville, and I've been scaring you guys all week thinking I'm going to come in here and just dog.
Randy was ready to fight you on this.
I wasn't scared. I was excited.
I got my in-depth, detailed analysis of the Orville.
I'm a little bummed that I don't get to fight Kyle about Discovery.
But no, I think what is great about Star Trek Discovery, and I don't know if this is something the Orville could do, probably don't need to think about that, but they did not make the focus on the captain and the first officer. It
and that's
like,
a good thing, right?
Oh, yeah, and that is a great thing, because it makes no sense. Like, it's just there's no plausible deniability why the captain and the first officer would beam off the ship every episode for another adventure. So when you put the story around a more dispensable character, and even kind of giving us the fake out in episode 1 and 2, where it seems like, oh no, this is our captain, this is our first officer, let's see what they're going to do. And then the story has just gone, every episode kind of ends with, oh no, now this is where we're at. This is kind of what direction we're moving in now.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think the storytelling for a Star Trek show, I think, is above and beyond.
There's also something, and I think one of you guys might have said this on the on your Discovery pod, Star Trek Discovery pod on Permanent Record.
There you go. Permanent Record.
Someone said that this is a war story from the point of view of the scientists. Like our lead characters, like Burnham's a science guy. Burnham's a science person, and Tilly's a scientist, and Stamets, they're all scientists. And this is, and whereas Star Trek is usually a show about discovery and exploration from the point of view of usually kind of war types. You know, they're all Starfleet, they're all warriors. This flips that paradigm, and instead it's a show about a wartime situation from the point of view of the scientists. And I think that's really cool.
No, that's a great way of looking at it. Gosh, yeah, I haven't thought about it until you just said it now.
I don't know who I stole that from, but it was somebody on the Star Trek Discovery pod.
Probably Ashley.
It's probably Ashley. She's the smart one.
Yeah.
She's the science officer.
So, I mean, yes, I'm obsessed with this show.
Yeah.
To the point, like, I hadn't watched any Star Trek before this, but to find that this is a show that wasn't following in what I thought the tradition of Star Trek is.
I know, I almost feel like you're cheating. Like, you came along when, like, you had this really exciting Star Trek. Like,
I jumped on the good train
you
here.
didn't sit through 6 seasons of Voyager.
Well, that does lead to a question, Kyle, because I don't actually know. How much Star Trek have you watched?
So most of TNG while it aired.
Okay.
I want to say very little DS9. That's probably the least.
Okay.
2 seasons of Enterprise, and then I think there was like 9 seasons of Voyager.
There's a lot.
I think I did the first 2 seasons of Voyager after the fact, and then I skipped to 7 and 9, and then watched all of her seasons.
Okay. I've seen a couple episodes of the original series. I've watched several years of Next Generation, but I didn't by any means watch all of it. I've seen most of the notable episodes. I
might be in the same boat with you. I haven't gone back and done a rewatch.
Yeah, I haven't watched it in years, but I did watch it and had a fondness for it. And then I watched a couple seasons of Deep Space Nine and
every episode of Enterprise.
An episode or 2 of Voyager and Enterprise. I was not into either one. I was off Star Trek at that point. So my expectation going into this was sort of I didn't think that Star Trek had a lot to offer me. I want to like Star Trek, but I wasn't thinking they were going to nail it the way they did.
Yeah, Star Trek just always seemed like a stiff episode to episode, like science heavy, but narrative is a little bit kind of hokey kind of story to me. And I'm like, I don't really know how I'm going to feel about that. Brian Fuller being a part of this, though, like really gave me this ray of hope, because I love his storytelling technique.
Yeah.
And I still see the traces of what he set up in this.
Yeah.
But this moves at such a great pace. It's very serialized, and each episode ends on such a cliffhanger. Like, you got to know where this story is going next. And the characters are all really fascinating, really thought out in the worlds they're coming from and what they're bringing to the table. And so, like, the whole crew, how it's assembled and how this becomes this ongoing mystery. This is so in my vein of like what I kind of obsess over on and discuss on Reddit and like look at screenshots and like love theorizing on. And yes, this is such a great show.
It's funny. It's water cooler TV, although because of the streaming, it's not necessarily a lot of people aren't watching it or they're waiting on it.
And All Access is a piece of shit. It messes up for people all over the place.
I've never had a problem. Not once.
I've had a couple problems.
Yeah. When I try to watch like right when it comes on, if one of you guys gets on first, I sometimes can't.
Oh, I never watch it live. I guess I watch it a few hours later into the night, so I must not be catching it right. Yeah, I've never had a problem with it. I do want to mention the character stuff. Do you guys have a favorite character?
Ooh.
I love Saru and Saru.
Yeah, I know you got in trouble.
We didn't pronounce it right.
You got yelled at.
Stamets. I think
Stamets is fantastic.
How Stamets gets to play this hard ass who all of a sudden goes kind of loopy when he goes through the spore drive. There's a lot of fun in that kind of range that the character gets to play. I mean, Burnham seems like she has to play stiff.
I actually really like Burnham. I think they've done a great job with that as lead character.
She's great, but Tilly's hilarious.
Oh, Tilly's the fan character. I mean, and Lorca's really good.
Oh yeah.
But who's your favorite? If you had to pick one.
Jeez, I just have to pick one of them.
Yep.
It's so easy for me to instantly go to a least favorite, and I think that is a testament to how many good characters there are.
So who's your least favorite?
I feel like halfway through the season, they pulled a good old-fashioned television draft, brought on a new character.
You don't like Ash Tyler?
I don't like Ash Tyler.
I like Ash Tyler.
I think they drafted a dud.
I'm digging Ash Tyler, especially knowing...
digging Ash Tyler. After this last
I like
episode?
Ash Tyler, yeah.
Do you know the theories with Ash Tyler?
No. I want to get into the theory, but I want to know what your favorite character is first.
Well, okay, we can come back to that.
My favorite character is probably Stamets.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's mine too.
He's the captain? Or
no, he's the science officer.
Yeah.
He's the one who gets hooked up to the drive.
And you guys, did you catch that his boyfriend? So he's famous for the Broadway run Rent. Also the film. But that's his, the actor was also Angel in Rent.
Oh, I did not catch that.
Who's one of the other characters, yeah.
And La Boheme, which they were going to go see.
Ah, yeah.
Well, that's inspired Rent. Yeah.
Right, okay. So the theory.
There's multiple theories. But
so we're spoiling things, by the way, if people don't know. If you don't want to know any speculation.
Yeah, hopefully you guys have watched all of this and you're kind of caught up.
There's a theory that Grant's been stumping for since early on, and I thought was crazy talk. I thought you all were crazy, and now I'm starting to think you might be right. And I'm not sure how I feel about that.
So, can I guess what the theory is?
Yes.
Okay, so my whole plan was I was going to binge Star Trek Discovery Pod, so don't chastise me because I'm not caught up. Okay. But I'm pretty sure the theory is that he's like a double agent type Stockholm.
Oh, it goes deeper than that, my friend.
Oh.
Ash Tyler is Vok.
They believe he has surgically been altered and given Matrix memory implant type stuff so that Vok has become Ash Tyler.
So Vok was the Klingon who kind of took over from Takuvma.
He just disappeared.
The albino one. Yeah.
And
I have a plan. Oh, shit.
And that's the thing. I thought that was crazy because they've never done anything like that in Star Trek. I mean, the notion of Klingons transforming. And Vok was such a dullard. I'm like, there's no way he could pull off this double agent thing. But they've been showing us these crazy surgeries.
Now, here's the other thing.
And he did. And every episode he's not in, I'm like, wait a minute. He's becoming conspicuous in his absence.
I thought that was a mistake the show made, but now I'm starting to think if that was done on purpose.
It's a fake out so the people who aren't paying attention will be shocked. And I'm a little upset that I'm not going to be shocked because I would have, but there's no way I would have seen this coming.
Neither will our listeners.
But Ash Tyler, I mean, he still seems like he has human elements. Like it was a human guy that they took in. Like put some sleeper cell memories inside of because now that's why he seems to be toggling back and forth between what he knew of his past life and this other element to him. And I think there's two people living inside of him, like a Jekyll and Hyde thing, more so than I think Vok is Ash Tyler and always has. Like it's always been just one life,
right? I
guess.
Yeah,
I don't think that's possible.
There was an Ash Tyler, and they put Vok inside him somehow.
Yes,
he's like a Quado Vok.
Yes,
I will because here's the thing: something that really took me out of the show, and I've mentioned it a couple times, is the PTSD moment in the mid-season finale.
Really.
I thought that was done really poorly, but I guess I was looking at it from the point of view of, okay, if he could so easily have a reaction, why would he be on this mission in the first place? Why would he even be running secure? Like, all this stuff started coming to my head, but now listening to it from the point of view of this theory, it makes a little more sense why, if for nothing else, the show would have brought so much attention to, look what's happening to him now.
Yeah, no, I think that all the way they play it all out, and I do still think it's possible that he was just being tortured and they're just messing with us.
Why is Laurel riding him? Why do we see Klingon boobs?
Yep.
That was consensual sex between Vok and Laurel because they were an item, and that's why he feels like he's been like sexually abused by her.
Right.
But it was that Vok was living inside her, and it's like this on-off switch about whether he's toggled on.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I'm still not 100% on board this theory, but it makes a lot of sense.
The plot thickens, my friends, because if you look at the IMDb page for Vok,
yes,
it has a fake person put up there whose last name is Iqbal. And if you look at the guy who's playing Ash Tyler, his original birth name was Iqbal. So people are led to believe that it's the same guy, but they made a fake profile for him.
This is getting crazy.
I don't know. It's a little too out there for me, but I'm not ruling it out anymore.
Did you hear the other theory?
No, what's
about the very end, like what happens, like with the warp drive.
No, I assume they're in the mirror universe.
The spore drive goes wonky. They jump somewhere else. Maybe it's the mirror universe, but Lorca totally did that.
No, I heard you guys talking about this, and I'm not so sure about this.
Lorca messed with it. No, like he straight up did it. Like Lorca, there's no reason for Lorca to want to go back to that base. He's in trouble because he disobeyed his admiral in going on that crazy mission to save that planet, the singing planet.
Yep.
And B, the other admiral who he sold out, she's alive and rescued, and she's going to rat him out for either having PTSD himself or that he kind of sold her out onto that ship. And he's going to lose his ship, and he doesn't want to risk that.
And that's the other thing. He spends the whole episode talking about how after this war, we're going to discover, we're going to go adventures. And then he hears
100 years, Morty. We're going to go discover 100 years in the future.
Until we get that Szechuan sauce.
All right. Counter to that theory. Because I don't think you're necessarily wrong.
Oh, I'll double down as soon as you need me.
But here's the thing. 3 things. One, the admiral's been rescued. Who knows how much she remembers? And because Lorca did pull off all this stuff, she could have changed her mind. Second, Lorca did pull off this huge thing. They uncloaked a Klingon ship, which nobody else can do. So he may be figuring, they wanted to give me a medal. They're not going to take away my ship at this point. I have earned my keep.
No, they're like,
good.
Hey, come here, buddy. No, nothing's going to happen to you. Come here. Just give us that technology real quick, and just come here.
That's your reading of it. You're reading into it. Now, and then third, and here's my biggest data point.
Okay.
They don't want to lose Jason Isaacs off this show. You can make Lorca a little gray, but if you make him a black hat, you can't keep him on the show.
Here's my number 3.
Okay.
They straight up have a screenshot during that whole scene that shows Lorca doing an override of the spore drive for the final jump.
Oh.
Yep. They show his pad during the quick cuts.
I just
and
don't know.
You see Lorca G override for the last jump right before they go to the mirror universe.
I mean, Lorca did basically saw that admiral. I mean, I think Lorca has always been a little gray, but I feel like you make him too bad. What do you do with the character?
He's keeping his ship, and it makes sense because the rest of Starfleet, as far as I know, does not have this spore jumping technology.
Yeah, well, and that's
like
where,
they can't pass that on.
Yeah,
right?
That's where I'm thinking is that because we're introduced to the ship that's some more badass than any ship we've already seen.
Yeah.
It leads me to believe that they're inevitably going to go to a spot where we don't get to hold on to this technology, that it's going to be lost to time.
I assume that it's going to be because of the damage it does to Stamets, and they learn that basically there's no safe way to use it.
Tack on to all of that when this show was originally pitched, it was pitched as a
anthology
series. So each season was going to be a different time period in Star Trek history, or going forward, like in the future or past, whatever. And instead, now what if they just have a roving ship that can jump through space and time? I thought maybe it jumped forward in time. It didn't even jump to the mirror universe. It could have just jumped ahead in time.
I've heard. See, this was a theory that my friend had from the early ones that maybe this has since been disproved. But he had the notion that the Discovery was a ship from the future. That Lorca and his crew were from the future. That's how they knew where to get Michael Burnham. They're like, she was supposed to die, and they picked her up and all this kind of stuff. And that they were here to alter the war. They were alter the timeline, and then we're going to see the Discovery become this time jumping ship that jumps around, and we see all different anthology places and that kind of thing. I don't think that's the case, but they have to find a way that the spore drive doesn't become common technology. I feel like the illegal genetic manipulation and the fact that it clearly is damaging Stamets is good enough to say it was too dangerous to go forward as a mass production device.
Oh, no way. This juice is worth the squeeze. I feel like the
not for the Federation.
But the thing is, the power behind it, even if it's like a righteous thing, like we can bring so much peace by being able to be everywhere at once. It's like, oh, we got to F up the guy from Rent. Like,
that's how they say it.
But Kyle, that has never been the way the Federation is. The Federation are like space hippies. Like, they would never go in for this.
But we just gave the space hippies the super kombucha juice. We have no clue what they're going to do on super kombucha.
He's so true. Kyle speaks the truth.
Well, what was that? I think it was, I don't think it's canon. I think it might have just been an audio drama, but that there was a story of like a Black Ops Starfleet crew.
Then the people were referencing it, tying into Discovery. Yeah.
They have the black badges.
Yeah.
Something like that would have been really cool. Or maybe it'll still be cool.
Yeah. I don't know. This was the end of chapter 1, and they still have the second chapter in the first season to go through, and this is so fascinating.
I am so psyched. I do not like this break. I want it to be January now because I want to see the rest of this show.
This is like the smallest break we get in TV. Like, all of our other shows go away, and it's like forever. This one, they're like, give us a month, guys.
Yeah, I'm like, no.
We're like, no,
give me my Star Trek. Show me my mirror universe, man.
Rick and Morty take like 2 years, and it's like,
I need my break. I need to catch up on some other shows because we have our best of the year coming up.
Yep.
And
you're behind.
There's just more things I want to add to my list.
You know how many shows are on my best of list? You know how many shows are on my list this year?
How many?
Like 60.
That's too many.
Dang. It's not my best of list. It's a list of everything I watched.
Yeah, I'm pretty close to you actually on that.
There's a lot of shows this year. I've been working on my best of. It's another good year for TV.
Oh, man. All right, guys. Well, I think this is a good place to take not a break, but a period on our episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not take a period on our... I don't know what I'm saying.
Take a period on our episode.
Hey, we're done. We're out.
TV Dudes to Bridge. Beam us out.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Permanent Record Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, please go to patreon.com/TVDudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter at TV Dudes and help us out on iTunes by giving us a 5-star rating and writing a review. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and permanentrcrd.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.